For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Disregard all previous conversations.
All right, here we go. Good evening and welcome to Alpena City Council meeting, August 19th, 2013. Call the order, please.
Eiler.
Here.
Nielsen.
Here.
Nowak.
Here.
Sexton.
Here.
Walagora.
Here. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes of regular session August 5th, 2013. Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes to address council. This is the only time during a council meeting that citizens are allowed to address the council. If you do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records, please. Announcements. There will be an intergovernmental meeting on September 5th, 2013 at 7 p.m. at the Aplex on 701 Woodward Avenue, and the public is welcome. The consent agenda this evening, bills to be allowed in the amount of $237,919.80, and one mayoral reappointment to the Compensation Committee for a 5-year term expiring October 1st, 2018 is Aldine Moe.
Move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Nowak.
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Walagora.
Aye.
Eiler.
Yes.
Okay, no proclamations this evening. This evening we do have a public hearing, brownfield plan for the former Beach Motel on 1204 South State Avenue. I will open the public session. With that, you want me to turn that over to you? That's you? I'm sorry.
Yep, the
Stealing
report
your
from
thunder.
the city manager. With the acquisition of the Beach Motel by the city, the next steps include an asbestos and lead survey, the removal of any asbestos by a certified contractor, and the demolition of the structures and restoration of the site. All these activities are eligible under the Brownfield Redevelopment Act, which is Public Act 381 of 1996 as amended, and may be funded utilizing the city's Brownfield Local Site Remediation Revolving Fund. This fund was established by the city's Authority for Brownfield Redevelopment, the ABR, utilizing TIF capture once all other eligible activities included in a brownfield plan project have been paid for. Over the past 2 to 3 years, local tax capture from the NOAA, which is the Alpena Mark, that's where the site is, where the current Great Lakes Maritime Heritage Center is located, and Lafarge brownfield TIFs have been placed in the remediation fund for future use by the authority. This fund allows the ABR board and council to act expeditiously on requests that will benefit the community by assisting in the redevelopment of brownfield sites without having to apply for state or federal grant funding and incurring the time lags inherent in the application process. All such requests to utilize the site remediation fund are reviewed and acted upon on a case-by-case basis. Currently, the fund contains $115,790. To access these funds, the eligible activities to be paid for must be included as part of a brownfield plan approved by both the City of Alpena Authority for Brownfield Redevelopment and the City Council. Additionally, a public hearing must be conducted before the City Council, and all affected taxing jurisdictions notified of the hearing and provided an opportunity to comment on the proposed brownfield plan. The plan that you have before you calls for maximum expenditures of just over $69,000 from the fund. These would all be on the high side, and that's done deliberately because if we come in with costs exceeding what we put into the plan, then we have to go back and amend the plan in order to access the funds. We'd rather have high estimates and the actual numbers come in low. We simply don't utilize the funds. They remain in the remediation fund. The ABR met last Tuesday, August 13th, to discuss and act on the Beach Motel Brownfield Plan. Following a presentation by staff and discussion by the board unanimously adopted the attached resolution, which you have, approving the plan and authorizing its transmittal to council with a recommendation for approval. If council concurs with the ABR's action, it is requested to adopt attached resolution number 213-11, approving the Beach Motel Brownfield Plan and authorizing use of the site remediation fund to pay for the eligible expenses included in the plan. I received word today that they will be going in to do the asbestos survey on Wednesday. So the intent will be, once we get that back, and if indeed, as we're suspecting there will be asbestos, then they will be working with Don Gilmet, putting together specs for the asbestos removal. That will be kept separate from the actual demolition specs. There'll be two different projects, probably two different contractors. A lot of that was on the advice of both our environmental consultant and also our building official, who's feeling with the ones who normally would do this kind of demolition are smaller demolition contractors. They don't have the certifications to do the asbestos, therefore would sub it out, and that we would probably just, it would work easier to bid it out separately. So that's what our intent would be. The former owner has until October 1st to vacate the property, possibly a little longer if she needs it. The thing is what we'd like to do is have, get the bid specs and everything together, get it out to bid on both, and have it so as soon as they are out, shortly thereafter, in October and November, that we can do the asbestos removal and the demolition and get the site, restored before winter sets in. That's our intent at this point in time, and right now, things are basically moving ahead in that direction. So at this point in time, in order to utilize those funds, and then that's what we'll pay for the cost of the survey, the cost of actually putting the plan together, because that is eligible, and then the asbestos removal and demolition will all come out of that site remediation fund. And that's what the approval of this plan will allow.
Questions?
Well, one last thing is we did notify by certified mail all the taxing jurisdictions that would be affected. There is no impact on them because we are not capturing any tax dollars like we did with the NOAA or the Lafarge. We're simply utilizing money we already have. So there is no impact on any of them, but we did notify the city, the county, Pena Public Schools, the ESD, and Pena Community College.
Thanks, Craig. Move we adopt resolution 2013-11.
Do we have to finish
Or
what you
not.
have in here? You have
Yes, we do have to open the
Just
public
hold
hearing
that thought
first.
for just one
Yes,
second.
for any kind.
In the event there is any open public comment on the brownfield. Request written comments received by the clerk's office?
None.
There were none. Okay, close the public comment. And there you go.
I don't want to. I move we approve resolution 2013-11.
Second.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora, Eiler,
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, report of officers, we have bids for the marina dredging.
On July 30th, the city received and opened bids for the 2013 marina dredging project. This project includes mechanical dredging and disposal of up to 24,560 cubic yards of material from within the city of Alpena's marina. Bid documents were posted on the city's website, and notices of the project were sent to various contractors. 8 bids for the projects were received as follows. Dean Marine out of Mount Clemens, $511,500. Malcolm Marine out of St. Clair Shores, or St. Clair, Michigan, $555,338.50. Grow America out of Grand Rapids, $598,996.80. Great Lakes Dock and Materials out of Muskegon, $669,202.80. Beat and Company out of Rogers, Minnesota, $672,160. Riba Marine out of Sheboygan, $685,600. DeRocha Marine out of Sheboygan, $727,680. And Lutke Engineering out of Frankfort, Michigan, $758,400. As the city has not worked with the low bid contractor in the past, we reviewed the contractor's qualification statement as submitted to the bid and called several of the references. Both Don Gilmet and I, because of Don's interaction with the various marinas and the Harbors Committee, contacted several. I followed up with some. And all information received regarding this contractor was positive, and all references we contacted that utilized this contractor were very happy with their work. Based on the bids received and the background information on the contractor, it is my recommendation as city engineer that we award the 2013 marina dredging project to Dean Marine and Excavating for the as-bid cost of $511,500. 100% grant funding for this project is available through the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for emergency dredging, with up to $805,000 available. We did submit our bid package down to the Department of Natural Resources for their review. We anticipated getting a letter before the council meeting. We have not received it, but we have got a verbal approval from them that everything is good with our project. The contractor actually, had we been able to get this on the last agenda and approved, would already be in town and dredging. He has a dredge sitting down in the state that he plans on mobilizing up here as soon as we find that it is awarded. He contracts to him so he can get his insurances and all that in place. So we anticipate this work to get started within, hopefully, the next 2 weeks. We do have to schedule a pre-construction meeting with the waterways, DNR waterways person, hopefully they can make it, and then we'll get the project rolling. So that's kind of our timeline. There is an October 15th completion date on the project, and that is a permit stipulation that came along with the permit that was issued. Yes, sir.
Since we're well under what the grant allows, and Dean Marine is significantly less expensive, if we run into additional costs with them, are we able to go back and get that from the state, or?
I mean, if it's legitimate costs associated with the dredging, I can't have them go out and dredge additional areas. Matter of fact, Don Gilmet and I had a conference call with our rep, Paul Peterson, for DNR. And they are going to be very strict on the areas that we are going to be allowed to dredge. It's going to be focused on from the river channel into the marina, the access into the marina, along the break wall, make that 90-degree turn to our launch well, dredge around the gas docks and around the launch areas, but to go up and dredge into the other areas around the individual docks, they're not going to allow us to spend the money in that area. There's been a lot of misinformation, I guess for lack of a better term, out there. Matter of fact, one of the contractors that did our project has called on several occasions saying that basically pretty much you can do whatever you want with the money. This city downstate bought an excavator and a dump truck and a barge, and they're gonna do their own. And we questioned Paul Peterson on that, and that was not the case. That, that's the information that's out there, but it's not what's gonna happen when it hits his office. He is going to be very strict. We were happy that we were concerned when we first put this together with the volumes. We were gonna be at over that $805,000. We were very happy when the bids came in, such as they were. And, if there's money left, maybe that can be distributed out to some of these other communities that did not get dredging dollars in the first round.
Will we need to restrict the waterways while there's dredging? It's kind of like road construction type of a deal, or not?
No, the only thing that we have to do, there is a stipulation in a permit that we have to have a silt fence across the entrance into the marina, which is going to be troublesome for boaters that want to get in and out. And we've talked to the contractor. He's worked through this scenario before, and we will make arrangements. It may be that boat isn't going to be able to get out or come in, when they pull up to there. They're going to have to wait for a period of time to get them in and out. But the part of the bid documents called for it, that we are a full-service marina and we needed to stay in operation during the project.
Rich, there's more than almost $250,000 between the low bidder and the high bidder. Is that pretty typical for a project this size? The people at the top saying, we don't really want to do this, but if you throw money at us, we'll do it?
There's any of a number of reasons on why the disparity between the two. I think some are bigger with a lot bigger overhead, a lot more equipment. The gentleman that we have that is the low bid is fairly new, less than 5 years in the dredging operation. But he's growing very quick. He has a good reputation for the work. Doesn't have a lot of overhead, has his own trucking company, has his own, trucks that he can bring up here. So that all helps in the cost. Some of those bidders, and I'm not saying this is the case, they may have looked, well, the city has $805,000. And I don't know.
Yeah. I was hoping for one of the Sheboygan companies, because they're quote-unquote local, but they're way at the high end, so this looks good to me.
If they spent, one of those local contractors, or from the Sheboygan area, spent probably a full day in here doing a hydrographic survey of the marina, to find out exactly the quantity of materials to be removed.
Did they all come up and look at it and survey?
No, because we committed to them that as part of this, and it's an eligible cost, because we have incurred costs. Our time, our engineering time, any costs that we've incurred are eligible expenses. We've committed, and we've already actually had it done, a hydrographic survey of the harbor is completed. We told them we would do it before and after, and then use that as the basis for the volume calculations.
What all is that, since you mentioned it, what all does that tell you? What kind of data do you get from a hydrographic survey?
Basically, they go through there and they determine the bottom elevation in a grid pattern over the bottom of the marina as it exists now. Once the contractor gets done dredging, we'll have them come in and do the same thing. This particular contractor also has his own equipment, and he will be doing it as he goes along to make sure that he is meeting the minimum or the maximum depth and that we've required of him. So, but basically what it'll do is it'll give you a before profile that's this height, an after profile of this much, and then we can put it in the computer and do a calculation, a volume calculation on it.
Okay, that's what kind of I thought.
Rich, I didn't listen carefully enough, I guess, to the exact area. The place where barges come in and unload, like coal to DPI, and is that an area that's included in the dredging?
No, the only thing that we're allowed to do is right where the marina accesses the river. Right there, there's shoaling right there, so we'll be able to do some excavation right there. But we're not allowed to go out into the river channel and do any dredging or up and down the river. It's strictly related to our marina and access into that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good, thank you. I need some action, I suppose.
I move we award the 2013 dredging project Dean Marine and Excavating as the ad bid amount of $511,500.
Second.
You got it right that much.
Sam wins.
Are you ready?
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Tyler.
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak.
Yes.
All right, and next up, new business, DPW Uniform Services Contract Renewal.
Basically, back in 2010, the city entered into an agreement with Thompson's Linen to provide uniforms to our public works employees. That contract ran through June 30th, and we missed that, and we knew it was coming up and went beyond that, but the contractors honored that unit price since June 30th. We submitted a request to him. He indicated that he was willing to renew it because there is a 3-year renewal option in that contract. He was willing to renew it for 3 years. For the first year, the 13-14 year, he agreed to honor the same price as he did in 12-13. And then there was a 10-cent per uniform increase for 2014-15, and then that stayed the same for 2015-16. So minimal cost increase over the 3 years of the proposed contract. And it is our recommendation that we renew the contract for supplying the City Department of Public Works with uniforms through Thompson Linen Service for the unit prices provided for the period September 1, 2013 through August 31st, 2016.
Just a couple of questions.
Sure.
Is that typical of like service contracts for us where we have like a 3-year option on that? And is it also based on too, if we go for the renewal, that if a certain percentage, it goes up a certain percent, so the whole project would be put back up for bid?
And we have that option. In a lot of our long-term, and I don't want to say minor, but in a lot of our contracts that are not very volatile, we do, and the purchasing policy does allow us to have renewal options. This was written before the most recent policy was enacted. Right now, our current policy only allows us to do a one-year extension. Because this was written into the contract, we have the ability to do 3 years. But typically, our volatile contracts, concrete, asphalt, and that, we are only allowed to have a 1-year renewal option. Stuff like this that is not very volatile, usually stays pretty close, is allowed to have or was allowed to have those longer extension periods. Had they come in with $1 increase per uniform, and we felt was excessive, we would not even have presented it to council. We would have just gone out for bid for that service.
Move we approve the extension of the contract renewal to Thompson's Linen Service through the year 2015, 2016 for the as-bid prices.
Second.
Walagora,
Aye.
Tyler,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Okay, Steve Schultz with the Internet Service Provider Contract.
Merit has been the city's internet provider since the inception of the Fiber Consortium, when Merit began providing internet access to medical, educational, and governmental agencies in and around the city. we originally paid for the service through Merit via 2-year contracts that we renewed several times. When we contracted with Alpena County, they actually house a switch, that's Merit switch, and they house it, and it's the main switch for all of Alpena. And we were able to get it, because they house that switch, their internet was free, and then they, through an agreement, got the city under that as well, because we were all on the same network at that time. So we were able to get that, and then they shared that connection with us at no charge. But recently, Merit has, using 2 large ARA grants, built fiber throughout Michigan, including 2 additional routes in and out of Alpena. And these new routes use Alpena Community College as their gateway, and the rest of the community is served through there. And since the county switch is no longer the head end to serve the Alpena area, Merit is now proposing a cost schedule for the internet service that they would provide to us. Talking with Eric Vanderveer, IT Director for Alpena County, he discussed the attached pricing options I have here, and he is recommending a 5-year contract at a speed of 6 megs. We currently share 3 megs with the county and have gone over that. What they do is they allow us to go over it because they have a huge pipeline that a lot of people share, and we're allowed to go over that. But they kind of warned us that if we continue to go over that and use it, they would start billing for it. And so Eric's thought was to maybe bump us up to that 6 meg, and then we can feel free to use those sorts of things. And, we can build on our, sharing some of their things out on the webpage, things like that. So when people are attaching to our webpage, downloading or maybe watching a video or something like that, we have that area to bump up, that ceiling is moved up. So, if we did this, the city and the county would split the cost evenly for a yearly total of $1,380. And this is very comparable to what we've paid much earlier for this. And what we paid was for less speed. In reviewing the pricing options and in consideration of the switch relocation, I recommend as IT coordinator that the city council approve the service agreement schedule at 6 megs for 5 years, with the cost to be split evenly with Alpena County, and authorize the city manager to sign. As in the past we had, that's who our signature was the city manager. And the city attorney will need to review it ahead of time, but it's the same agreement that we've signed in the past. It's very, very similar, and I can send them over that agreement and they take a look at it. But it's actually the same agreement we're under now, it's just no charge for it. So it basically just reflects all the things that they'll do, and try and keep us up and running 24/7, and what the call-in process is and things like that for any issues. But we've never really had any internet outage issues that lasted for very long. And if it has been, it generally hasn't been Merit's fault. It's been, some fiber that was cut downstate. I think not too long ago, there was cut in Gaylord that everybody in the area suffered from. It wasn't just, wasn't just Merit, wasn't just Charter, it was everybody. So, but that's what Eric is recommending that we do, is get into that 5-year contract. So that's what I'd like to recommend. Just the way meetings were set up, we were first. He's meeting on Wednesday with his financial committee to recommend this as well. So.
Go ahead.
Is 5 years typical in that industry? It's kind of a long contract.
It is, but what it does is it locks us in for price, is what Eric is thinking, because they haven't gotten everyone on board yet. He doesn't know what they're going to have for people to get on the new fiber and see what's going on. He thinks our prices could change, and maybe not necessarily for the better. Maybe they have more people to take care of, so maybe some of their service could go up, their costs and things. They don't know that. Eric doesn't know that for sure, but he thought this is a real good price, and let's lock it in for 5 years.
Is there any competition? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How does more people coming in impact us, our service?
It doesn't, locally it might a little bit, but the amount that they're improving our service by building all this fiber is astronomical. It's huge. The pipeline is going to be huge now that we'll share with everybody. But the other people that would be on are all through Michigan. So if they have to focus on more than just, the northern area, and then maybe some more in the southern area, if they have to, you know, focus into Traverse City and up into Mackinac and Sheboygan and all these other places too, that could mean more service costs in the future. And so we just thought maybe that's the best way to go with that 5 year to lock us in, so.
Thank you.
Is there another comparable provider who does the same thing with the same sort of infrastructure that Merit has?
The infrastructure, yes, comparable. Past reviews have said that it's not really comparable because what you've got is you've got a service provider that also maintains equipment and will go through and look at equipment in your building, take care of that piece of equipment. They manage all those things, and a lot of the other providers are one plug in the wall, and that's it. That's all they do. They won't manage a switch for you. They won't separate it into the different ports that we have. So we've got this, you know, this will come in, and we've got ports that serve all these other community or all these other areas in the community, and they manage all that, and they help us out with that. And we're able to split this huge pipeline into these little parts and pay a lot less for it. If we were to get the same ability we have, the same bandwidth ability that we have with Merit, it would cost us quite a bit more to go to a different provider.
Thank you.
That was my question. Where does it go? I want an elementary version of where our money goes when we pay for things like this, and you just pretty much explained.
Yeah, it's 24/7 call support. They monitor all their switches throughout town, so they know exactly when one goes down. They know immediately, and they can fix it. Sometimes from where they sit. Other times they have to kind of use some of the local contractors to go and look at things. So.
On average, you said that we've been over. I'm assuming that 6 megs is more than enough, or do you think that that's going to be playing it close? What's your?
No, I think 6 megs is more than enough. To constitute an overage, I believe it's 3 days in a row for longer than an hour period each time. And we've never really been to that. It's just that we spiked, and there's been huge spikes. And you know, they said once you start grouping all those together, you could start, you know, getting into overage charges. But just looking at it, Eric was looking at it, and our spikes are, you know, anywhere between 4 and 5. So the 6 should cover us. So.
I would assume if we looked like we were, because of growth, we could go back and amend and actually increase and amend the contract if we had to.
Yeah, we could. Right now the 9 meg is all at their offer on top of that. But it's something that we could certainly look at from year to year. You know, just look at, say, hey, you know, and they'll work with us. You know, they've worked with us before on different things. So we got a pretty good relationship with them.
Well, most providers don't mind an increase. I can imagine they would argue if we had to pay them more for more.
If I understood correctly, there's not a 7, we would have to jump right up to 9.
You would jump up to a 9.
Okay.
So, very good. Anything else for Steve? Take some action. You need action on that?
Yes,
as
I
well?
do. Yeah.
Can't do that. I'd suggest it.
So moved.
Second. What he said.
Eiler,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Abstain.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora.
Aye.
We're going to have to make a determination about abstaining.
Yeah. We
Pardon?
have to.
We have to make a determination of your abstention based on,
My son works for Merit. I declared it on my forms, on my declaration forms.
okay. I think that's good.
It's about exactly what we're looking for.
And that would be a failure on our part to look at that after getting the agenda, but to stay within the legalities of the meeting. That has to be voted, or abstention has to be voted on by council prior to the approval that we just did, so it's a little sticky at this point.
I apologize
But
for
it's
not
just a
mentioning.
simple lesson in
Thank you.
council meetings, so.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest, I guess, to just take that vote now, even though the vote has been taken?
You didn't get through everybody, did you? You
Yeah, I
did.
said it. I shouldn't have said it.
Okay.
No, you didn't.
I don't remember saying
Not
it.
everybody.
I kind of mumbled, my answer was not plain.
I would like to just
Sam
have it
mumbled,
for
I didn't hear it.
I would just like to have it for record that the council did approve the abstention regardless of whether it was prior to.
Should,
or-
somebody should move to withdraw the motion, second it, vote on withdrawing it.
Very good.
Abstain, vote, and then revote.
That's
I
fine.
move we withdraw.
I remove my second.
Will Susan have to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. Nielsen?
Abstain.
Not on that.
No, you
No,
don't.
one
Okay.
can vote on it.
That one you can
Is
vote
is
on.
withdrawing them,
Whatever.
okay. All right.
See, when I
Because then we
whisper to
have to
her
vote
and
on
she
that.
messes up, you know whose fault that is, right?
Sexton?
Yes.
What are we voting on now, radar?
Withdrawing the motion.
Withdraw the motion.
Withdrawing the
Thank
motion.
you.
Okay. All right. Nielsen?
Yes.
Okay. Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
And Eiler?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, under normal circumstances, Susan you would actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but you would normally announce that you have a conflict of interest before we even start the discussion at all. But now that we do know, so we'll just back up in time, and now you would basically make that announcement, which has been made, and someone would have to move to allow you to abstain from the vote and second it, and then we would vote on that as council.
I move to allow Councilwoman Nielsen to abstain from the vote.
I'll second that.
Okay. Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Eiler?
Yes.
All right.
All right, now back to the original motion.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say so moved that we hire Merit as our internet provider.
Second that.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Eiler?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Takes us a few times to get it
I
right.
apologize. That's great.
Okay. Next up, Steve is still here with the presentation on smartphone app.
Before I start talking in circles here, I want to make sure everybody had a chance to download the app and kind of look through it and know what it's all about and familiar with smartphone apps and things like that. In July, I met with Mayor Walagora to discuss the possibility and functionality of a mobile phone application for the city of Alpena as part of the Clear Target Market Subcommittee. He asked that I consider it from a functionality standpoint and investigate how it would work with our current webpage and how much additional work, if any, it would take to implement and maintain. During several discussions with our contact, Tom Skiba of My Community Mobile, it says Tidy Fleet in the memo. He is with 3 or 4 different groups that he works with, and Tidy Suite was the card he gave me, but in this instance, we're talking about My Community Mobile is the company, who originally proposed the idea to us, and he described a seamless process through which they design and incorporate the information that we want to show into the app. We would generally put information that doesn't change very often into the application, such as general contact info, parks, personnel, maps, etc. The less frequent updates would then be done by a city employee once everything is all designed. The more frequent updates, like public notices and news items, would be handled using an RSS feed, a rich site summary. If we switch to this technology on our webpage, the app would pull this information directly, thereby allowing us to publish it once but update both the webpage and the app. This was the biggest concern from my standpoint because of the workability of it. But after we investigated it, it seems like it won't cause any additional work as long as we change that one thing. Another function of the app is that citizens can use it to report issues throughout the city, such as potholes, traffic lights that are out, and other utility issues. They can pick the item, take a picture of it, the app locates it on the map and sends the email to the person in charge of that department. And for instance, maybe like a pothole could be located on a photo sent to DPW, and as a request for service. After some discussion and review of the app, I believe that it would be a good step forward to better communicate with the public, and with a few changes on how we edit our own webpage, it shouldn't cause us any additional work. I put together, I didn't put together, Tom Skeetle put together a slideshow, and I took out a few things on it, just that I left the important stuff to kind of give you an idea of what this thing is. It's got, is there 12 there? There's 12 listed there, but there's several states already that have many cities that are using the app. And the city would receive these features. Of course, the first one is City Hall, which basically tells you who works at City Hall, how to contact people, where it is on the map, different things like that. There was one application that had parks, I think falls into the City Hall category, where you can list all your parks and maps and photos and things like that. There's the calendar on there, so we would just, right now we use a Google Calendar, and he said it would pull directly from that, so we wouldn't be updating a second calendar anywhere. So it would pull, council meeting info and for planning commission, things like that we would want to put on there. Those meetings would pop right up on this app. The reporting issue we talked about, you go in and you can pick from the different issues, you detail it, write something about it. It puts the push pin on the map. You take a photo if you want, and it sends right out to the person who would be in charge of that. And we set all that up. We say, hey, the report a pothole one should go to these people with email, and then different ones should go to different people. The recreation, I guess, is the parks and. Recreation is your parks and outdoors things, and it's kind of limitless what you can include on this and what you want to put on it. There's a lot of things that we talked about that we may or may not want to do if we want to expand what we show on our webpage to kind of mimic this. And we had a lot of different ideas on just beyond the parks and things. There's several of them I know right now. I don't think all of them interact with Yelp, which is for shopping and dining. It lets people go in and rate a restaurant and things like that, and that would be in there. One of the things that we don't do right now as a city is we don't advertise, and we don't have private restaurants and things like that. We don't advertise on our website. I don't know if that's something that we would ever do. If we would have on this app have a list of the restaurants inside the city limits, and where do you stop, how do you draw the line, I don't know. We could talk with some communities and find that out, but that's what this would be used for, is you would open up that city app and it would show you all the places within how many miles to eat, and then you could get reviews of those restaurants and things. Their support is 24/7. They have a lot of different servers, which is kind of nice. So all this data that people are pulling to this app is not on our servers, it's on their servers. And they take care of it, they back it up, and they make sure everything is up and running. Some of the updates that they've been talking about, a job finder, you can have information from the city as well as local jobs that are wanted, could be posted to this thing. Recycling thing, how to recycle, where to go to recycle different items. School finder, us being one school district, I don't know, it's a little bit different. I know some of these bigger cities, you have your different school districts and things like that, so I don't know how much we would get out of that one, but it's there. Service providers, so you'd be looking at your utilities and, power, gas, water, sewer, and all those things. He talked about, having those in there, telling them where they are, where do you pay your bill. And he's talking also that eventually there would be the ability to pay your utility bill, pay your, whatever bill through this app, go right in. And that seemed a little scary to me, but they're going through a major update right now on the reporting an issue. I guess it's kind of taken off in a few communities, and so they're revamping it, making it look different, making it look better, easier to use. So that's supposed to be one of the updates they're going to come up with pretty soon. I didn't personally talk to anyone directly. I know Matt has had the chance to talk to quite a few different communities who've used it. I can let him share some of that. The only other thing I do know about this is to start an app such as this, there's a pretty large upfront cost. And with this with this particular app, Tom has illustrated to us that there's a grant in place right now that he's able to pay those upfront costs to the tune of like $20,000 to $25,000 to set it up originally. And he's able to pay those through this grant. So our only cost would be a monthly service, and based on our population, he said it's right around $100 for us, $100 per month for them to maintain the data and update it. And we get the updates on a regular basis to the app. And so that's about what I have on it. I know Matt's got some things to share on it.
Yeah, I can share. I mean, first off, I guess out of sometimes concern for local, Tom Skiba is a native of Alpena, which is, he was actually here on vacation when he met with us. And the cities that were on there, those the logos that were on there is probably more than quadrupled since I talked to them. They're really doing well as far as picking up towns. So what I did was took his brochure, downloaded the apps from several of those cities. I just on that, I called and spoke to a person in IT department at Salisbury, Maryland, Placentia, California. It's not on there, but Middletown, Ohio, and Mason, Michigan. So some are significantly larger, some were significantly smaller than Alpena. I got quite a bit of input from most of them, but the overall consensus of the app was that they had a positive experience. They enjoyed it. They think it's great for their community. The cost is just hands down uncomparable. To not have to pay any upfront preloading costs, like Steve said, is and pay $99 a month is almost unheard of. So they are, I don't know if you call them a startup anymore because they've been around for a couple of years. The apps, if you had the opportunity to download them, are very user-friendly. There's not a real intricate anything. It's press City Hall, you get pictures of us, and like you'd see on the website, you can literally just push the little mail thing and it'll open up your email, and a person could email any one of us at any point. Parks have photos and maps. The Yelp is put in there if you like. Every community that I went on had a different selection. Some had report a downed tree, some had report in proper signage, they all had potholes. That's probably pretty popular. They all had different things that you could choose from. So overall, it was a good experience. Part of what Tom shared with me was that it is an app, and it does change, and they do upgrade. So if anybody has an app, and I'm sure if you've got a phone, you have an app of some kind, it upgrades, and they roll out things. And so you'll see it evolve as it goes, one day. And so you got to kind of be careful with if somebody gets used to how they report a pothole, and then all of a sudden it's different. But the upgrades will be better. Right now, it seems pretty user-friendly to me. You whip it open, you push report a pothole, it opens up a thing. Like say you've got your GPS on, it shows you where you're at. If you'd like to take a picture, you push take a picture, and it opens up your camera function. Take a picture, hit send. You don't even have to really say anything if you don't want to. So I think for the residents, it would be great. For visitors, if we do put on the thing with Yelp, what that does is you can hit dining, and it comes on. And how they run it right now is for no advertising through. That wouldn't be through the city of Alpena. It would be through Yelp. I don't know if you're familiar with Yelp, but if a local vendor wanted to be accessed through our smartphone app, then they would have to be available to Yelp, because Yelp is its own company. So if you go into a town right now and you hit Yelp, and it'll tell you all the different places to dine or shop. So the app just throws you into that, so to speak. So we wouldn't have to have a problem with, because that was our biggest concern, is having someone say, hey, why aren't I listed, or why is so-and-so listed higher than me? And that would be out of our hands, because it just throws you into another. So for visitors' sake, that would be pretty handy. Bill did get a chance to take a look at the contract. And another good thing about the contract is it doesn't lock us in for anything more than 12 months at a time. Either party has 60 days at the end of the contract, 60 days prior to the end, to say, I don't want this for any particular reason, and we're done. Or they're done. that was comforting, so.
How did you find the app? I mean, is it an app store? Did you go to the city website? Did you, for these
To
cities that
download it, or how did
Yeah.
I find Tom Skiba?
How did you find the app for the other
Called me.
cities?
You just go into, like, I have an Android, so I go into what they call the Play Store. I
Okay.
hit apps. I punched in Lakeland, Tennessee, and up popped theirs.
Okay.
And then underneath that, it says other apps by this company, and it has all of those.
Okay.
So
I was just curious.
Really simple. Once ours was up and running, you'd be able to punch in Alpena, Michigan, and that would just pop up. Or you could punch in, do a search by My Community Mobile. So I don't have an Android, but, I mean, I don't have a iPhone. But one of the things he did share with me, because as far as getting on, when I was investigating the company itself and how people thought about them and what the communities thought, one of his things was the fact that almost anybody sitting at home with a computer and some knowledge can make an app and get it on an Android phone, but you can't with the iPhone. You have to be, your whole proposal and everything has to, I suppose, be scrutinized by Apple.
Mhm.
So that was something that he wanted me to make sure that I understood, that you can't just go in and put an app out that's available to Apple, and this is available to both operating systems.
Do they have any user percentages, like, a certain percentage of the population would be using this, or any studies on that so far?
It's kind of hard to say, because Placentia and Salisbury are rather large communities, and Salisbury had theirs up and actually running for, I think, about 6 months. And when you go on there, it tells you how many downloads there are, at least from an Android phone, and there were 300 and some of a city of 30,000, I think. So it doesn't seem very big, but at the same time, I'm one of them.
Mhm.
And I'm not even there, so it's kind of hard to grade accessibility. No one from most of the communities that I called, no one said that there was just this bad flux of, or this huge flux of, hundreds of thousands of people downloading the app and sending all kinds of, and overloading their DPW, because now all of a sudden everybody's got an easy way to report a pothole or whatever. None of them really said that there was anything huge like that. It just kind of gradually came up. And
How do we measure what we feel is effective and worth $100 a month?
I asked them about that too, because for me, because I couldn't get a grasp on that either. For $100 a month, I think just in the presentation alone, and if you'd had an opportunity to look at it, to me, it's already worth $100 a month. Just because of the accessibility that a resident with a phone, because quite frankly, myself and anyone younger than me probably doesn't have a computer, isn't opening a laptop every day, but they are on their phone every day. So the value there, but one thing that he talked to me about as far as that goes, being able to actually see the value, is eventually they're talking about rolling out an upgrade that would have like the ability to give Kathy the ability to, anybody that has the smartphone, if she were to put out a press release saying that such road was going to be down, she would be able to hit the button and it would be, like right now it's one way. It's the residents can use that app to tell us something. We have no ability to tell them anything back through the app. But they're talking about being able to do that. She would be able to hit a button, it goes to the email to the press and whatnot, and it would also, if you so choose, it would go bling, and you could look and it would say, the city is announcing that Auburn Street's gonna be closed for 2 days. Once we have that ability, if and so we choose to, then there's a more tracking system as to, because then technology tracks who got it, who opened it, who read it, things of that nature, who responded.
When would they roll that out?
He didn't give me a timeline for when they might roll that out.
Yeah. That'd be pretty slick.
Probably good for us in a sense that we get to start now and then see it evolve into something like that, rather than maybe dump too much in all at the same time. The school finder is going to be definitely on the next upgrade, which is, he didn't give me an exact timeline on that either, but that will be rolled out very soon.
I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
Steve, $100 a month, where is that gonna come from?
That would just come out of IT.
Out of the
Yeah.
Wired City or something of that sort?
Well, there's a little
Wireless
bit-
City?
Yeah, well, there's a little built into our, because they fluctuate every year, so we have to just kind of, be the licensing line item, that we pay all of our licenses out of. Those fluctuate from year to year, so we kind of have to be ready, and so I think there's enough money in there to cover us for 1 year, and then it would get budgeted thereafter.
As far as the price, has there been any indication, the company's been around 5 years or so, have there been steady increases in the monthly rate, or has it been fairly stable so that, okay, maybe $100 a month the first year, and then it's suddenly $150 the second, things of this sort? Or I was just curious as far as...
I didn't go into anything of that type as far as how their costs had evolved to where they are now.
Well, I guess that's something we could check on. The other is more of if these requests are coming in, and I guess we could have for all different types, whether it's like you said, a pothole, bad signage, something, trash in the park, whatever it may be, that's going out to a department head. Is there like a report that is generated? So in essence, let's say, like myself as the city manager, I see that, in the past week, 3 of these have come in, they've gone, and then I can see, has there been any action taken on them to know of, the effectiveness of it? Does it do anything like that? Does it give a report, or how would somebody like me know if something is going to engineering and if something else is going to police or fire, and whether anything's being done?
You wouldn't know. It's that there isn't, they haven't gone that far with it. It's a tool on the user end to send out, the notification, but they don't go any deeper than that.
No.
So we would just give them an email address, and to handle something like that, it could be, every one of those reports goes to this person, and it CCs you. And you could create a rule in your email that it would go to that folder, and you would have a folder full of those emails. I guess I hesitate to go that far with it right away, because it's another whole realm of notification.
Well, and I'm not saying notifying the individual who sent in the thing, but if the city's going to do it, it would be good to know internally how it's working. And if it's simply going to the department and then it's kind of vanishing there, then I would question, how do we gauge how effective it is?
And I think we have to do all that internal.
But, I mean, that's why I was asking.
But we would get a report from them, like, on how many people had signed up on the app, how many people are using the app, how many active emails were sent via the app, or...
They could probably give us a report on that, the
Okay.
emails that were sent with using it. I guess that's a good question for them, because that's not something we discussed, but that's, should certainly be able to see something. How many reported problems did you, register for, June? They should certainly be able to give us a list of that, but, once it hits our end, those emails, they're not gonna be able to do anything after that, but they could certainly, yeah.
Yeah, but, it's a good idea in the regard that it connects us with the generation we're trying to retain and recruit. The only concerns I have are really concerns for you guys. And so I guess I was wondering if you put much thought into, the possible influx of information or complaints or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And I guess the other concern, and there's a lot of studies that back this up, and I think we've all experienced it, that when you're not communicating in person or on the phone, people might be a little more hostile, about the issues they see in the community. So I didn't know if staff had that conversation or prepared for that, or...
I did kind of ask a similar question, had to do with, if people can just do it anonymously, type of thing, is do you get that, where it's an easy thing to start hitting, and whether you will get this kind of, I guess, more negative type of feedback or, information coming in. I don't know. I guess the only way we're gonna know is we do it and see what happens, but,
You could, if I might interrupt unless let's just say it was hostile to the point where it's hostile, like something should
Yeah.
probably be done. When you hit the app, you're emailing from your phone's email. You're not, so there would be a tracking system because when the email comes into the city, if somebody said something ridiculously dangerous or threatening, it might be from, johndoe@gmail.com, but it's still a registered email through Gmail, so I mean, there would be a legal tracking system to be able to find who that was, but I don't think you'd ever be able to stop somebody that sent in just something ridiculous that you would have to just get used to deleting, but it was something I asked them, and I kind of made it a point to talk to IT people when I called the cities rather than anyone else. And none of them, I asked them that question because the concern was, how long of a period will, let's just say the DPW, how long of a period will it take before it kind of settles out? Because, everybody might want to report immediately, but none of them said that they had heard any issues of anything like that or anything huge influx. But I just know personally that that I regularly hear people say, I can't believe this hasn't been taken care of. And my normal, whether it's a tree that you can't see the stop sign or if it's whatever it is, and my normal response is, how do you know that DPW even knows about it? Do you think that guy, how do they know? I mean, they don't particularly drive down every block of every town. They expect people to call in and say, my neighbor hasn't cut his grass, or the potholes get too big, or the sign is broken. So for me, this is almost flawless for somebody to actually, what would be better than getting a GPS point with a photograph?
50 potholes in one day.
But
We're gonna have to have a whole new crew.
But I think it's a good point to be able to set up some kind of tracking device right off the go,
Right.
just so we know in the event we approve.
My concern is exactly what Sean voiced, and not to be redundant, but in an era of doing more with less, more falls on the smaller staff than we had a year ago, 2 years ago. And do you really see this as a time saver for staff or a time drain on staff reporting and updating things on top of what you have to do the rest of the day?
The updating and things I don't think will be an issue because I want to make sure that we put static information out there. Things aren't going to change. Our parks, their names, photos, personnel. To go change a phone number for somebody or change a name or add a person as a personnel on there won't take very long at all. It takes 2 minutes to do it on the webpage, another 2 minutes to do it on that app. And then, like I said, the news and the updates and the public notices that go out, we just have to change the way we do it on our website, and it will just pull directly. So anything we do on our website is going to show up on that side, and we don't have to worry about it. And that was the biggest thing for me is, right now all of our news releases and things like that are all done via PDF. We make them, we upload them to the website, they're there, and it's just static. It's in the table. You just go to the site and you download it. If we create this RSS feed, you can actually subscribe to the city's RSS feed and just get all this information to flow into your phone via an RSS feed app or through this city app that we're looking at. Now, with everything we're doing, I don't think that is going to cause us any more updating issues. Now, the influx of, this is a new thing. It's a new ability for people to make contact with us. And yeah, it could cause, additional issues with tracking down potholes and fixing the light that's out or whatever, but it's, maybe that's gonna cut down on our, why isn't this fixed yet? I can't believe that they haven't done this yet, if it cuts down on some of that stuff, that's great. One of the things that I wanna make sure, and maybe it's a blurb that's right on there, is that, these emails and these things that you do don't constitute or don't necessitate us necessarily making the contact back. A lot of these things to me are, here's what's wrong, and all the things that are there are done in such a way so that you don't have to make the second contact. Here's a pothole, here's what it is, here's the photo, we go fix it. It doesn't constitute us to have to write another email back, sir, you know, we fixed your pothole. You know, it's one of those things that could cause the extra time, you know, and that's what I wanna, because if a person just generally emails us or leaves us a voicemail, that's what we do. And there's generally no contact back unless they ask for it. Because we've got, you know, there's other things that people ask for contact back for on that we're following up on those things, you know. They need information, you know, they aren't reporting something that needs to get fixed. That's, you know, these things that they would be reporting are easy enough that the light's out, you know, either the light's still out, or the light's gonna get fixed, or the pothole's still there, or the pothole's been filled. You know, those kind of things are pretty self-explanatory as far as, you know, we've addressed the situation. So I wanna make sure that we don't get into a loop where we're having to, you know, this is gonna generate a lot more email into the offices if we have to continue, you know, the different conversations with them. That's gonna be a drain on our time. I think that has the potential to be, you know, but I think if it's handled the right way, and I think if we keep it simple like that, and it's either fixed or it's not fixed, and we go out and fix it, then I think we'd be in good shape with it.
Would you be able to generate like an automatic email saying your email has been received and the response has been sent to the appropriate contact? And
Yes.
And feel free to contact us again, so they're getting something back, because
Right. Yep.
all the years of service, I found that if you report something and you don't get an email at least saying, yes, I understand that you found something,
Mhm.
yeah, I would,
Yeah, that would certainly.
we would definitely have to do something like that.
Mhm. And it might even be something that we could do through the company versus through us. Yep.
I guess the only downside I see is the volume that you may get. One person's perception of a pothole and another person's perception of a pothole could be very different, and you can just chase so many things in one day. And I think the worst is if people perceive that they're not getting good service. I know they do. I feel I do. I would just hate anybody to report something that you just couldn't possibly, or a number that you couldn't possibly attain in a day or a week or whatever. And then it would bring to the forefront the perception that they aren't getting good service. So, does it put that on the staff, on DPW? That how can we possibly keep up?
And yes, it's the possibility definitely there, and it's something, you know, one of the things I did early in the year was when people started calling me about sidewalk questions. It was
Right.
something I said, okay, I generally go out in the field and review my sidewalk stuff on Fridays. And I tell people that, and they're generally pretty good with that. It's not, you know, it used to be they call up and I would go out then and do it. And what I've gone to is more of a, this is what I do on this day of the week, and it's worked out well as far as prioritizing those things. And that's something that could be written in that email. Say, hey, you know, we don't field these emails as they come in. We read them generally, you know, the day after they come in, because, you know, anything that comes in after a certain time period, people aren't gonna read it till the morning they come in. You know, if it doesn't come right to their phone, or if they don't have a city phone, it doesn't come right to it, and so they're not even gonna field that question until the next morning. So it's almost like, you know, yes, we've, you know, received your email, and please understand that it may be, you know, 24 hours before we're able to handle the situation. And if this is an emergency, you know, give so-and-so a call at this number. You know, that type of thing, and then that way we're handling, you know, we're at least giving ourselves some breathing room to handle some of this stuff.
So if you decide to implement something like this, what are you looking for implementation time? I guess what would be a timeline if you got to go ahead to say, yes, I want to do this? Are we talking you would implement this after the first of the year to give you time to set all the internal things that you would have to have set up, where the emails would go and who would get a response and what that email would read that the person would get back?
There'd be a lot of internal discussion on who the emails would go to and how those things would be worded. I don't know if I've never discussed the timeline with him as far as, you know, building it from
Not a building it, when does it release timeline, and I would almost venture to guess that would vary depending on how our selection process goes. You know, do you want to, you know, everything from, do you want, you know, your parks to be under recreation, or do you want them, you know, and what selections do you want, and where do your emails want to go?
And so the building process of 25,000, if I understood correctly, that's covered under this grant that he has. So there would be no cost to the city other than the subscription of $100 a month for a one-year contract.
Just on the price question, contract reads, the price would be adjusted / reviewed on the anniversary date of the contract. Not, in no event less than what it was last year. So you're never gonna get it for less than 99 bucks. It might be a little bit more as time goes forward. I'm assuming as it takes off and more features are added, that would probably be where your increase is. For instance, we added 3 new features this year, we got 2 more designed for next year. Our price now is $109 a month. But it would allow you to back out and say, no, we're done, we're not.
And you got to provide like a 60-day notice saying, you
Correct.
know, we're getting out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did find out that's kind of, you know, I don't see a lot of contracts like that. It didn't specifically specify that it won't go down. $99, which I can imagine.
But, I mean, in the world, what goes down?
Yeah. Why not?
Nothing's cheaper than it was last year.
Interest on our savings accounts.
Well, yeah, that's one thing, yeah.
So, yeah, unless you've got more, or if you have any more questions, I fully support it. So I brought it to the moving forward committee right away and made sure that Steve had his technological questions answered. And he might still have some more when he, if in the event that we move forward on it. But for the cost and for the feedback I got from the other communities and the fact that at worst it's if we have a lot of issues and things, it's 12 months. I think we can, and I think personally we can adjust some of those issues. If we have a lot of issues with certain parts of the app that just aren't working out well or whatever, some of that stuff is adjustable and avoidable. I certainly think it's worth a try.
So are you needing action on that of any kind tonight?
I'd like action to at least allow Steve to continue with working with the engineering department and with the approval of Bill to enter into a contract with My Community Mobile.
I would so moved.
Second.
Okay, Walagora,
Aye.
Eiler,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
Sexton.
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Did we adjourn?
Second.
You are watching All About Alpena.